Well, it's that time of the week again for Sterlo's wrap-up. Yes, just 2 rounds to go in the NRL. Nice to see you, Pete.
And you, James. Seems like hours since we last met.
Yeah, it does. Always feels like that. They're flying at the moment, the weeks. Look, let's go back to Thursday night. Suncorp Stadium, the scene for the Broncos and the Rabbitohs. And Brisbane, 20-point winners in the end in this one.
Yeah, perfect illustration, this one, of when a team gets on top, how you can score quick points, because the point spread here was quite remarkable. 18 points. Brisbane get away to an absolute flyer. South Sydney, they look flat, they look leaden-footed, look to be out of the game. Then they score 18 and come rushing back into the game and have all the momentum. And then Brisbane go on to score the last 20 points. So kind of a crazy game, but thought a really good performance from Brisbane. Said on the weekend, I think they bounced back from a loss just about better than any other team. They've had 9 losses this year, and only once have they put losses back to back. So if you come up against Brisbane and they've been beaten the previous week, you've got to look out. Thought a really good performance under some pressure, because we know that there's still all this talk about the coaching situation. Not too disappointed with South Sydney. They did well to get back into the game, but just not on the night. They just weren't good enough.
Well, that was Thursday night action. The early kickoff on Friday, one of the more bizarre games you'll see. Only 6,000 plus fans there at Lottoland for a seesawing affair, a high-scoring affair, but Manly's troubles off the paddock continuing now on it.
And they got away to such a good start. The Trbojevic brothers were just dominating, and you just thought, well, this is going to be a very, very bad night for the Gold Coast Titans, because their defence was threadbare. The home side were running through holes, running amok, and you just thought, well, you know, Garth Brennan, what can he do here? Well, what he did, he gave him a spray at half-time, and it obviously worked in the second half. They just raced away with this game, because the scoreline, it actually flatters Manly, who led by 14 early in the game. They scored 2 late tries in this game. So, yeah, that made the scoreline a little bit closer than what it actually was. Terrible performance from Manly. A lot of distractions for them off the field, but you can't produce that. You can't get away to a good start like that, build up a big lead, and then just watch it fritter away.
Yeah, 42 points to 34, the Gold Coast over Manly at Lottoland. Straight after that, it was live on 9 at Amy Park, 20 points to 4. The Melbourne Storm beating the Parramatta Eels. You look at the casualty list for this Melbourne side. Cam Smith not coming back in the second half, neither Siliasi Vunivalu, Nelson Asafa-Solomona. On top of that, we had Brendan Smith going around on one leg. You had a sin binning. Unbelievable to think they could get away with that win.
Yeah, when you put that way, it sort of sounds like Parramatta should have won this game and won it comfortably. But I thought it was a really tough performance from both teams. Melbourne, under duress, were fantastic. And you know, there are going to be ramifications out of this game for the next 2 weeks and possibly into the finals as to the health of their roster. So it was a great performance from them, especially when you consider Cameron Munster was in the bin for 10 minutes. Great opportunity for Parramatta, because they weren't that far behind on the scoreboard at that stage. I just didn't think the Eels played particularly smart. You know, they tried to go into their block players and tried to play around the Melbourne Storm, and that just didn't work. And what was disappointing, if you have a look at this play, the very first set of 6 from Parramatta showed how they should have played. Vave, quick play of the ball. Nathan Brown takes it forward, a little bit of a step. Got Jarryd Hayne on his shoulder, puts him away. Now, that was the first set of the game, and that's got to be the template for what you're going to do for the rest of the evening, and it wasn't the case. They tried to go around Melbourne, who defended it beautifully. Really tough win, but a night that I hope Parramatta learnt from.
Okay, that was your later kickoff on a Friday. Let's go to Panthers Stadium, the early kickoff on Saturday. Another slow start from the Penrith team against Newcastle. This time, came back to bite them, going down 20 points to 12.
Yeah, it wasn't just a slow start, it was a slow game for them. I thought they were all over the place, Penrith. I have great expectations of them, and I'm a big rap on the Panthers, but what we've seen in the last 4 or 5 weeks, if they continue to produce this, they're out of the finals first week. They've been terrible. At times they didn't know what the person next to them was doing. Now, we're in round 23. You've got to be getting that right. I don't want to take anything away from Newcastle. They were fantastic. I thought they played superbly. I thought Mitchell Pearce and Kalen Ponga in the halves might be a sign of the future. They worked so well together. Young Meany at fullback was great. We know he won't be there next year, but with this configuration, the next 2 weeks could be very exciting as well. I thought Aidan Guerra's best game since coming up from the Roosters as well, but a really good all-round performance from the Newcastle Knights. And this kick, Ken Seo is not necessarily regarded as a sharpshooter, but a really windy afternoon. Kick from the sideline, this conversion to put them 14 in front. all of a sudden it took away the opportunity for the Panthers to come back and score 12 quick points and maybe go into extra time. To have to score 3 times, that was never going to happen. So that was a psychological blow landed by a guy who kicks well, but he's not an 80% goal kicker. But boy, did he get that one right.
Certainly did, and the Knights come away with a win at Panthers Stadium in an upset. It was an interesting build-up leading up to this one at Leichhardt. Great crowd. The Tigers, knowing they were trying to keep their finals hopes alive, humbled by a Dragons team, desperate. And Paul McGregor labelling it the best win that he's had as coach of the St George Illawarra side, 20 points to 10.
Yeah, it's a big statement. I don't think he's saying it was the best because of the way they necessarily played, but what was riding on it and the pressure that was on, both externally and I think internally. If they lost this game, I think it really would have dented their confidence and their self-belief. So conversely, they come out of this now back into the top 4, only spent 1 week out of the top 4. And I think that, this was a huge game for them and also for the West Tigers. I think it brings an end to their finals aspirations. I know mathematically they can still make it, but a disappointing afternoon for them. Really good performance, again, when you consider that Ben Hunt was in the bin for 10 minutes. They didn't concede any points. I'll go along with Paul McGregor. It was a really big win for the St George Illawarra Dragons in regards to their mindset going into the next possibly 6 weeks.
Yeah, and hoping to, of course, finish in the top 4. Shark Park was the scene for the later kick-off on 9. Cronulla playing host to North Queensland, 28-16 the final scoreline here, but a much closer game than that in Jonathan Thurston's final match in Sydney too.
Yeah, much closer scoreline going into the last 6 or 7 minutes as well. And we'd seen how good North Queensland had been in their last 20-minute periods against the Roosters and then against Brisbane. So it could have been alarm bells for the Cronulla team, but they just have this ability to win the tight games. They scored the late points. They have a really good ability to score the last try in games, and that's always going to put you in a pretty good position because they tend to play a lot of close games. So yeah, good performance from Cronulla, and I think that that if they can get into the top 4, then they're the dark horse for me. I know there are a lot of teams that could possibly win this, but they have the right balance and mixture in their side. They all know how to win big games. The acquisition of Aaron Woods during the course of the season, they're a smoky without really being a smoky, if you know what I mean.
What did you make of the Andrew Fafita blow up after the try?
I don't know. I don't know. As long as he wasn't talking to me.
You wouldn't want him to be.
But yeah, look, it's not good. To me, it's a sign of disrespect to whoever he's talking to, and you can't have that if that relationship between coach or assistant coach or whoever and a player, he's not the boss, Andrew Fafita, and there's no need for that. He'd come up with a great play. That try was something a little bit special. There was no need to carry on in that fashion, and I would imagine that there'd be some talks behind closed doors in regards to that.
You'd think so. Well, that was the later kick-off on Saturday. Let's head to Sunday. What a result this was, 27-26. The way of the Bulldogs over the Warriors. Young Lachlan Lewis, the star on his 22nd birthday. You couldn't write the script for this one, but the Warriors, that's a loss they did not want leading into the finals.
What a good game. Oh. Really good game. And we know that the Canterbury Bulldogs in so many matches this year have been really competitive but haven't got the result. But I was delighted for them here. When they conceded the last try, set up by Adam Blair really nicely to make it 26-all, you thought, well, they'll go on and win this game now. But this kick here from Shaun Johnson, if he had his time again, this was the final kick in general play that he came up with, straight to Will Hopewade on a flat trajectory. Now that gave the opposition too much good field position going to the last set of 6. Now I know that Lachlan Lewis, it's his first ever field goal, had to nail it again in windy conditions and it just snuck over the crossbar, but he shouldn't have been that close. And I think Shaun had to either go high and maybe just take a little bit of time off the clock or kick down into the corner, not give the Bulldogs any opportunity, despite the fact it was from 34 metres out, to get that kick right. So, not a great decision from Shaun Johnson, but a really exciting game and well done to the Dogs. Yeah, good win. They've got some young stars on their eyes, certainly Canterbury-Bankstown under Dean Pay. We're in Canberra for this one, 9 Sunday football. The Raiders winning a tight one, 14-12 over the Roosters. Look, they've got a habit, and we heard one of their fans say it now, pre-match coverage, they've got a habit of winning matches when they don't need to win them. And the Roosters, an unexpected loss this time of the year. They'd won their last 5. Yeah, it looked like 4 seasons in a day down there too. No idea. It was cold, wet, windy, it was everything. Which, I think the Canberra Raiders enjoy. They love having teams coming down into that environment. And I thought they played really well. We had to wait almost an hour for their first error. So the Canberra Raiders were really controlled and they looked composed. And then the problem came when the opposition started coming at them. And we see this, after they've gone 2 points in front, the drop ball from the kickoff, like they've got to get that right. It was just a simple error and you just think, oh no, here we go again. The Canberra Raiders are going to get beaten a tight one. But after that error, they defended it really well, and this tackle from Sia Soliola was an absolute beauty. And I think it epitomised the defence of Canberra through most of the evening, but certainly late in the game where they needed to come up with some desperate defence to make sure they defended that 2 point lead. In the past, when they made an error like that from the kickoff, they get beaten, but they didn't on this occasion. And a really good win. I thought they played really well. The kind of footy if we'd have seen all year from the Canberra Raiders, they'd be in the 8.
Okay, 2 rounds to go. It's a 3-way tie at the top. Who finishes minor premiers?
No idea. Obviously, the Melbourne Storm, keen to find out who they're going to put on the paddock for the next 2 weeks. I think it makes that difficult for them. I still think the Roosters, but I think the Rabbitohs will bounce back next week as well. So it's wonderful that we've got 3 vying and we don't have one team 4 or 6 points in front at this stage.
And the wooden spoon? Anyone but the Eels?
No idea.
Yeah.
Anyone but the Eels.
Playing it safe. Thank you, Pete.
Cheers, mate.
That's Sterlo's wrap after the 23rd round of the competition. Amazing to think, just 2 more to go.